What's going on, everybody? What's going on? It's the Black Man Unfiltered Network, 1-in-1 Sports Show. I'm Dante.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Shawnee. I don't know if y'all can really hear me right now.
Okay, you said
Also,
okay.
my little headphones started acting up on me.
Oh no,
I'll be right back, Dante. Give me a sec.
bet. I got you. So what's going on, everybody? Shawnee's getting everything together. Looks like I'm still seeing an echo on myself, but obviously we got the NFC Championship, the championship weekend that happened this past weekend. We got our Super Bowl matchup. We got the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out to all the Eagles fans. I know they real happy and celebrating how they celebrate. You know how y'all get down in Philadelphia. But obviously we got the Chiefs. I know it was I guess a slight bit of controversy on that one. I don't know. Everybody feels like, okay, when you watch a game, you feel like they missed a call, this happened, that happened. And so you may have been cheated or something like that. But I don't know. That game, I felt like it was a good football game. It was a lot better than the first one. The first game was unwatchable. I mean, unless you're an Eagles fan, you just celebrating the whole time. So, but just and in fact, with that Eagles game, man, you don't see that injury a whole lot in the NFL. Brock Purdy hurt his UCL, and that's normally a baseball injury from overuse of getting thrown, and that's how hard. The angle in which his elbow got hit, and it's just like I feel bad for the guy because they were making a good run. I thought the defense definitely played well enough because that was the team I picked because I thought that defense was going to be too much for the Eagles, but nah, the Eagles were able to move the ball enough, and they defense just. I got to give props where it's due. That what was it? That 75, 76 sacks that they had during the regular season. Like I think they set an NFL record, and so they showed that same kind of pressure. So I know it's early to look ahead, but that's going to be an interesting matchup to see how they get after Patrick Mahomes, who's still coming back from that injury. He played on it. He's going to have 2 weeks to rest it. So I think he'll be okay, but I still don't think he'll be like full strength. But the rest of the Eagles defense, man, just thinking about how like they're going to be able to play off of that pass rush, I can see why they're favorites. I mean, you can see how they played all year. They're definitely favorites, and they earned the number 1 seed. So earning that number 1 seed and getting those 2 playoff games, getting that rest, because Jalen Hurts definitely looks at 100%. So he's rolling. The running game was doing like it wasn't like spectacular. Like if you look at the total numbers, I want to say the total numbers were good, but the average wasn't just great. But part of it is they were just. They didn't have to throw the ball because they were just absolutely just killing the 49ers. So it's a lot of other NFL stories going on top of that. Like I want to say obviously one of the biggest news we'll get into later. I'm gonna wait for Shiny to get back as far as the coordinator change and with the Dallas Cowboys. So I'll definitely look into that. But one of the big things, and I know, man, I'm gonna wait on Shiny for that one too about the news with the Texans. But I will. I know Saints fans can rejoice because they did not have a first round pick, but once Sean Payton was able to execute a deal with the Broncos, they made a deal. I would say it was a first and a second round pick, and I think the Saints give back a third. And the second round pick is from 2024 draft, but the first round pick is from the 23 draft. So the Saints get a much needed first round pick. I want to say it's that, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first round pick from the Dolphins that was owned by the 49ers. So it's low, but it's still, you still want at least a pick in the draft, especially a year when the draft where the Dolphins don't have one. He said, yep, Alexis, the Chiefs are definitely going to the Super Bowl. I had been called it because they just, real good team. Hold on. He said, talk that talk. The Eagles will start out again. He said, man, yeah, the Eagles, they fans talked it up, and they had one of those all-world off seasons, and then they had a good draft, really good free agency and trade period, and then they're showing like, hey, it can take as quick as a few years to get back into heavy contention. And I'm honestly, I cannot stand the Eagles, but that's one thing you have to tip your cap to. As an observer of sports, and I like team building, you have to tip your cap to the fact that they got hurt in the second round, got rid of Wentz, and then transitioned from getting rid of him In the playoffs, he looked rough. They was like, hey, we need more weapons. You drafted a weapon last year in the draft. You traded for a veteran receiver. I mean, the line was already intact. Added some more defensive. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I got you, bro. I got you.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's happening, man. All my stuff, I usually have my headphones with me. Also, my computer won't recognize my headphones, so I'm just using the PC stuff, which is cool. But as soon as I
Yeah,
turned that on, I couldn't hear you.
I know how it is. I was trying to get my stuff right, and I'm still trying to get everything synced together. So Sorry about that. Show almost didn't happen though. I tried to take the trash out real quick. No, fresh coat of ice just came down. Now it's got to stay.
The ice. I haven't really been outside since the ice and stuff like that. But I heard you was talking about before. I was able to hear you. And you was talking about like the coordinator positions, the new coordinator that's been filled and whatnot, and all
Mm-hmm.
the changes with the Cowboys, and then you have not only with the Cowboys, um, Kellen Moore. He pretty much within 24 hours goes to the Chargers, and then pretty much by a couple of days later, the Texans end up getting the Miko Murray as their head coach. Which at first he said he didn't want them to contact him. I
Mm.
guess, but I saw they had. Cause I'm pretty sure how the Texans have been handling the last two coaches. One season he got a bad football team, so one season you want to fire him. So I don't think any coach was looking at that as just a good situation. I think they can handle the fact that it's a young team, but it was just the way they was running it. It was like, man, I ain't wasting my time with that. But I saw he got a 6-year deal, so he
Yeah,
said, he
that's
said y'all
that's
gonna be
that's the difference
y'all
maker.
gonna be stuck with me if y'all gonna try to do me the one and done coach. Y'all gonna I just be sitting on my couch for a little bit while y'all pay me.
Most
So,
definitely.
but yeah, I think he'll be a good coach. I think he's gonna be a turn up for the defense, and he's gonna have picks to build his team. He's going to have picks to build his team. So, but that's that team. They need to do something so we can. So I guess folks will have something to talk about them right now because everything you hear about the Texans is just flat out negative because
Yeah.
mainly due to the front office. But with the games that's happening this week, um, first I guess we recapped the next last week. We after two games, unfortunately, we was cheated out of one. That first game, that Niners Eagles, it was like, damn man, that was like Eagles just won off a default. I mean, you lose your. I guess I know he's just starting quarterback, but he's his third string. But they won 11 in a row with Purdy, so it's not like he was struggling with them. But he gets hurt. Then you got Josh Johnson who came and just didn't really do anything. He give up a fumble. Then also he gets hurt, get that concussion. So
Yeah.
it's just like literally, and then the second half, you got a dude with basically a broke elbow, whatever you want to call his elbow. All he can do is hand off the ball.
That's it. And you got to look at it like this. I was talking about it before you came back. A UCL injury, you normally see that in baseball. He hit his arm so rough. Dang, you tore that elbow up. And then they said at first it was like, oh, he'll come back in like 6 months. And the six to nine, they was like, nah, full year. It's crazy because I saw some 49ers fans that were so hyped up. It was like, man, this is gonna be a dynasty. We got Purdy, and I was just like, you gotta relax. You gotta chill. You haven't won anything yet. And I wasn't wishing injury on the guy, but it's just like you could. Another thing you could see from that is not only did he get hurt, but it was one of those deals where it's like, did y'all get lucky and kind of get to this position? Or I mean, you can blame the Cowboys for not taking care of business, and beating them because that was a close game. But it's like, and maybe that was like we said, props to Andre. Hey, y'all won. Y'all handled y'all business. Trying to tell you it'd be a better matchup. It'd be a much watchable game. But if you're an Eagles fan, you don't really care about that, and you just saw them just get just whooped. But the second game was definitely where the interest was, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to kick straight to it. How much? I'll say this. I won't say how much. Did you hear what Patrick Mahomes Senior said after the game?
Yeah, he talking about he was
Smoking it,
smoking that
yeah.
cigar.
Yeah, he's smoking on that Burrow pack. I told them they didn't like the whole, and I posted it in my Facebook group. They didn't like hearing all that talk about him, and people were like, "Well, he did win the last 3 games against him, and he did this and he did that." Respect him like he would someone else that is a Super Bowl MVP, regular season MVP. And I made a post about the last 10 AFC championships. He's been to 5 of them. And you look on the other side, Brady's been to 5 of them. So he's creeping in that kind of territory where if he wins this Super Bowl, he's going to win an MVP on Thursday. you got to get a guy his props and a little bit more respect. Like I was listening to a podcast, and they was trying to say if you want to say Burrow is better, what are you basing it off of? Like this guy can do things that other quarterbacks just can't do, and you should respect him for that. And we got a little out of control because you want. But and he said this on the podcast. And you said this in my Facebook post. Everybody wants the next best thing, but the next best thing is 27. Won't you just enjoy it and just enjoy it like you just had Brady retire today? Quarterback position is in pretty good hands as far as star quarterbacks, with more to come.
Yeah, that's just how people do it all the time. They do it in every sport. You have a player that's established and their greatness is established. They show it every year. Then you have this young player that comes in. They didn't even accomplish nothing yet. They just have nice talent where the media and people get their attention on them that time. Next thing you know, they are already trying to put them on the same level as the established great player. So yeah, you saw that with Burrow. I mean, he's a great young player, but he's not Mahomes yet. I know before then Burrow was 3-0, but he still hasn't won a championship. He didn't get the job done when the last what was that last year when he defeated him. So this year on one leg, Mahomes beat him. So now Mahomes is going to the Super Bowl. So, but Burry, he is that dude. Burrow, he is that dude, but he's not Mahomes yet. He's not Mahomes. And
Not yet.
I saw what was that? Somebody black man put something on here. 49ers Cowboys. Who has the better team?
No doubt the 49ers had a better
The
team.
49ers had it's styles make matchups. That's why you saw the game as close as it was. I don't know if it was a better team. It's just you only got one time to play each other. 49ers beat them that game, but a lot of time that game, if Dak would have made it just one or two more throws,
Or the
it would
kick
have been a
return
different story.
cuts the right way.
Yeah, so it's and they records are pretty much. I mean, Cowboys they would have had the same record if it wasn't for like a fluke loss that the Cowboys had toward the end of the season. So they pretty much like styles make fights. I look at those teams as equals, except the 49ers. What I thought before that game, the 49ers, what they excelled in was the Cowboys' weakness. But the Cowboys did a hell of a job on defending that was the 49ers run game versus the Cowboys' run defense. That was the main difference between, you know, because you put the edge of quarterback at the time was the Cowboys. Running game was the 49ers, even though the Cowboys had a good running game, but it wasn't the 49ers run game. At that time, they was averaging nearly 150 yards on the ground. And pretty much if they got to like that 140-yard mark, they it's pretty much a guaranteed victory for them. And the Cowboys not only kept them from that, I think they kept them to like 110, which I heard a record of their records when it's not 150. If you keep them that low, it's a complete opposite. And the Cowboys was able to do that, but the quarterback didn't make a couple of throws, and then they had the turnovers. So it was just nick and pick plays on that game. But with the 49ers and the Eagles, just like how I thought the 49ers, I thought the Cowboys was a good matchup for both of those teams. So they play the Eagles good all the time because they division rivals, and all their games a lot of time is close. But when the 49ers and the Cowboys played, I thought that was an even matchup. When the 49ers and the Eagles played, I thought that was an even matchup. Move to
I
Alaska.
don't know why you went to Alaska.
Hey man, if you move them to Alaska, I'm pretty sure the fanfare will still be following. I mean, they people live and die on that team. I know people that they in the country hate that they got the moniker of America's team. That's literally what they are. You can go anywhere in the country, you'll see a Cowboys fan, or you'll see people that they hate the Cowboys so much, but if the Cowboys game came on their TV, they will be watching it. Cause they want to see if they lose so they can troll them, and then if they win, they gonna say, "Oh, the Cowboys fans, y'all talk too much or whatnot." So it's either way, but no team in professional sports, American professional sports, just gets the amount of attention that they do. So You can move them to Alaska; they'll still be America's team. They'll still be in America.
But yeah, speaking of them, I want to look at the interest. How do you feel about the Kellen Moore decision?
I felt about that. It was time. It was time. I think Dak's regression with his turnovers, even though this is the first season he had that issue, but like I believe I was mentioning last week, the Cowboys are paying Dak because it's basically market value or just below market value. I remember a lot of people at the time was saying why Dak getting his money, why Dak would have got that money anywhere he went because that was the value at that time. And you see how quarterbacks who came after him, they getting more. It's just how it is. And with the Cowboys, they paying him that much money, so they expecting him because okay, since we paying you, we expecting you to deliver like you're an elite quarterback. And Dak is not an elite quarterback. Dak is a good quarterback, an above average quarterback. But he's not elite. So you can't just put the ball in his hands. He's shown you that a couple of games, but you can't depend on that. You know, he's won a couple of games, but he also lost several games. So when when everything happened, because last year, this past season, their offense was steady because they was equal with the run game and the passing game. So give props to Kellen Moore with that. It took him 4 years, even though like people saw what they had in Tony Pollard, but it took him like 4 years of Pollard to understand. Okay, finally get this dude the ball. And for whatever reason, he just not want to give him the ball. He just want to scheme plays of the ball. I think with Moore, because of the 10 years that Cowboys fans had with Garrett and how everybody back then was talking about how vanilla the Cowboys offense was and all that. Okay, when Kellen Moore came, I remember the first year, oh, it's just his offense is just so creative now. It's like and it's still if you it's not on the McVay level and not on the Shanahan level, not even on the Andy Reid level. 'Cause it's hard to find creative offense. But I think because where they came from with the Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore just looked like he was just a godsend. And he
Yeah,
had some stuff being that it's his first time being in that chair, in that offensive coordinator chair. So the dude clearly has a mind for the offense because he hasn't been doing it long. He has some success. He had like top five offense like the past 2 years. So he's obviously doing
yeah.
something right. But
I,
sometimes you just need a different voice in Dax here.
you do. And the one thing that the series, what's going on, Khalif? Appreciate you checking out the show, bro. But
Yeah, you probably talking about some Cowboys.
yeah, I know that's his eye roll. He be
Right.
going on rants about him because they it's a lot of our fan base that's annoying as hell. And my job is I try to just educate them and be like, hey, look, I ain't one of them. So if you come with that, it's our year guy. That's not me at all. But 2019, don't count 2020 because the quarterback wasn't there. So 19, 21, 22. End of the year, offense starts to go down. And it's like you start to get a tape on him on what he does, and he can't adjust. And he doesn't have a true identity as a coordinator. One week, it's like, okay, we're going to run heavy. We're going to have motion, shifts, play action. Next week, you don't see it. So he does like to throw the ball. It is out that McCarthy was like philosophical differences. He's gonna go to the Chargers and they're gonna be pass happy. And he's gonna be happy there. It's just that but he can now I'll say this, even though he's in LA, they don't care about the Chargers. He's gonna be a little anonymous. Where he can do his thing, but he's gonna have the star power of the Cowboys, the Cowboys, the Cowboys, and all of that. What is he doing? But who the pressure is on is when you change coordinators, but you don't change the head coach, it's all on the
Oh, lost Dante, lost Dante that quick. But yeah, you talking about that last play the Cowboys did, like they got to play off the little Giants. I don't know what that thing was. I guess once he did that play, they already say, nah, man, you might as well pack you. Don't even go to the locker room. Let's go straight home. They ain't gonna put Zeke as a center and nobody was blocked. I don't know what that was. So I'm not surprised at the move with Kellen Moore being let go, or they saying they mutually agreed to part ways. With that move, though, um, what's the name? I forgot the dude's name. The head coach. He's going to take on the play calling duties now. So McCarthy gonna take up play calling duties. I'm interested in seeing how that one goes. Because the last time I saw that dude with the Packers, that was the reason why Rodgers wanted to get away from him because he was saying how old McCarthy's play calling was up there in Green Bay. And I remember one of the things that when he interviewed with the Joneses for the head coaching position, that was with that was what he was trying to portray to him that he has, he had years, couple, at the house. Now he was able to research new plays and he was change his philosophy, more modern game of, plans and stuff like that. Now I remember that's what he was telling them in the interview. So that was the main thing that they hired him for. And so far, I believe McCarthy has been a good head coach. He's been a good head coach, but it's going to be interesting to see now that it's official that I saw it earlier today that Jerry said he will be taking play calling responsibilities. Now he's still going to hire OC and they'll put a game plan and stuff together. During the planning phases during the week. But McCarthy going to be the main ones calling, and I believe if the Cowboys finish similar, basically if they don't get to the NFC Championship game next week, I mean next year, McCarthy basically going like I'm going out my way. I'm gonna go out
That's how it should go.
because they wanted to keep more. The Joneses wanted to keep more as OC, as a crossover from the Garrett to the McCarthy era, and he was cool with that. And I guess now, especially with the way Dak performed last year, he said, "Okay, you can go. I'm gonna take on, and then if I go, at least I go down on my own ship."
I hate that whole Khalif. I hate that whole situation. I hate that Byron Leftwich had to fall on the sword for the bad play of Brady at the end, only for him to retire. It's like you could have kept the coordinator and gave him another shot.
Another thing about that one with the Bucks, you saw it. And I mentioned it when Kellen Moore was let go by the Cowboys. Within 24 hours, he was OC at the Chargers. Kellen Moore didn't accomplish anything yet. He just okay, you won 12 games back to back seasons. Byron Leftwich 2 years next year will be 3 seasons ago won a Super Bowl, and they was one game away last year from going to the Super Bowl. And then of course this year, they kind of fell off. But when he was let go by the Bucks, he out there still looking. So you can just see that not only you see about disrespect by Todd Bowles, but you also saw with Byron Leftwich. Now, speaking of Leftwich, I'm talking about the Bucks. I remember listening to Dan Orlovsky, and he was mentioning about how one thing he saw about the Bucks offense this year, they was not the Bucks offense during the Brady era reminded me of the Cowboys during the Garrett era. The Cowboys didn't do a lot of changing or scheming or whatever. The Cowboys philosophy, our players are better than yours, so we gonna depend on our Pro Bowl type players to beat you 1-on-1, and that's what the Buccaneers was doing when they had the O line, the running backs, and all that. It was just like how the Cowboys was doing it. Obviously, the Cowboys didn't get to no Super Bowl at one of the seasons, but you saw that this year when the Bucks are suffering all those injuries. Now they don't have the one-on-one leverage like they was dependent on in the past. The creativity is not really there with the Bucks. It was just basically mano a mano type offense, and you saw the offense crack.
I mean, but for you to see Brady, starting to decline the offensive line injuries from the jump, and you win a Super Bowl, you lose players. People want your players, so why not just simply give him another chance? You probably figured Brady was near the end. I don't like how they're handling the situation there, and it's just kind of while we're happy for D'Amico Ryans, you can look at it and say, yeah, Byron Leftwich might not get another shot. Ty Bowles, this is his last shot. And so it's like if they don't get a quarterback in there, then he'll never be a head coach again. He'll be a defensive assistant, defensive coordinator, rest of his career. Not a bad gig, but Frank Wright got a new job. It's one of those deals where you want the same abilities and opportunities that the other head coaches get, and the black head coaches just don't get that. That's why, as much as it can look bad for the Texans, I'm rooting like hell for D'Amico Ryans. Like hell. Like, I'm glad he's got the draft picks. Hope he gets the quarterback, even though they're drafting two. Hope he gets one, because I'm really rooting for him, man. And I think in the Texans was a good situation for a young coach to grow with. So it's just we're still back in the same situation with the coaching, and now we got to see. I heard Flores is a finalist for the Cardinals job.
I, that news must just came out today. But it's still interesting with me with the whole Brian Flores thing, because he still got that pending lawsuit that he started a year ago. I believe that whole situation that happened in Carolina with Steve Wilkes, his name is also added to that lawsuit. So, which was, I don't, I don't, I don't follow the Panthers too much to say how that organization is bad, but it's kind of screwed up though that Wilkes, because they was just fire selling the whole team, and they was trading away their best place. They traded away McCaffrey, um, just other, hell, even Baker Mayfield, who wasn't really doing nothing for them, just pretty much made their team to the bottom. So they were just the kind of basically tanking. Then Wilkes came in there, and even though it's the NFC South, they almost won that division. And so he came in as an interim and really just turned that team around. And because of that, what was his reward before doing that? They go out and bring in a new coach. And unfortunately now Wilkes, he has to find another job. So it's kind of because he got kind of ousted early with the Cardinals.
1 year.
Exactly. So unfortunately, he it looks like he does a good job. Of course, his players respond to him, but I guess that's not enough in today's NFL. They always looking for offensive minded coaches, which kind of surprised me with the Texans and the Ryan's hire, because a lot of people want offensive minded, because the Texans with these high draft picks they're gonna get, and one of them they're gonna use it for a quarterback. You would think they'll get a head coach more on the offensive side who can get in the ear of the quarterback. But they went to Miko Ryans and brought the dude back home. He was drafted by him, and even while he was playing for the Texans, I think he ended up suing them. I forgot what was the case about. Something happened between the two, so he definitely left on not on a good foot. Go have success as a D coordinator with the 49ers, and I guess I guess again, you give that dude 6 years and whatever million, he'll forgive the rest. So, but yeah, I think there's some good names out there. Not only, now that I think about it, talking about the coaches, not only with Moore going into the Chargers, because I believe the Broncos was looking at the Ryan's offer going to Houston. Once they saw that, immediately you saw them start working things out with Sean Payton. Now, Sean Payton, and I believe they named him as a head coach. It's been
They did.
finalized,
It was
but
like
he was
minutes out.
still, yeah, his rights were still owned by the Saints. He wasn't a coach you could just hire. So it's be interesting what I forgot what they traded for. They're going to give us some like draft compensation
First and the
to get.
second, and the Saints are sending back a third.
Yeah, I knew they're going to give up something. That's pretty tough. It's hopefully Peyton can get to Wilson's ear, because before Wilson came down to Denver, I thought basically Wilson was going to have a Hall of Fame quarterback. He was on that projection as a Hall of Fame quarterback, what he was doing in Seattle. And I have no idea. I don't know if it's Wilson or it was Hackett. You heard some things in Denver all of a sudden, because he was, I never really heard of a player had his own office, and he was just doing some stuff in Denver, and the dudes just wasn't feeling him. And you always heard he was a good leader, but for whatever reason, as much as you hear about Russell Wilson being a good leader, there's always something going on. I guess he has issues kind of relating to his teammates. So some of them are cool with him. Some of them be like, he's a quarterback, and that's pretty much what we keep him at. But I don't think 1 year is going to make that tells a story of Wilson. I think Sean Payton, he's going to come in there and they're going to get everything straightened up. Then you're going to see the Russell Wilson that you saw in Seattle let Russ cook type Wilson. So he's talking about
He
him and
said,
his wife.
so you said that the defense.
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
she. I
it's like
don't remember her doing anything when they was up in Seattle.
I think it's like this with him. You deal with what you have to deal with because he wins. But if you're not winning, you get fed up. It's sim. I mean, it's not the same, but I heard the same about players like Deion Sanders. And people were like, "Yeah, he's tough to deal with," or he's one of those guys Monday through Saturday, pain in the ass. But he helps you win on Sunday, so we deal with it. Wasn't helping you win. You saw people exploding, going off on him. I think if he starts to win, he's not going to change his personality, and everything will be the same. And everybody will be like, "Oh, it's so great," because winning is the great deodorant. It's the absolute great deodorant to everything. I think Bill Parcells or some coach said that, and it's true. And I want to say it might have been Parcells because he said he grinds on guys and he gets a couple of years, and then after that, it doesn't work. I want to say him and Larry Brown were like that. They grind on you, and then they got to go get a new job because it's going to wear guys out. And so Russell Wilson, his act got tired quick. And then the biggest thing I don't like about him is the Seattle guys. They sound like bitter exes, and it's just like let it go. Like everybody, and I respect Beast Mode. Beast Mode was like, man, look, they kind of piling on him, and he kind of stayed neutral, but also defended him. And it's like, man, y'all kind of got to lay it back. Like Richard Sherman, we know you going to the Hall, man. Not only did you have your time with the 49ers, I mean, not the Seattle, but you had that great season you had in San Francisco, negotiated your own contract, and now you in the media game. So it's kind of like, but now, like, I want the ex players to do this. Y'all have millions, and y'all have your own ideas and people who y'all were beforehand. Don't get to the media game and immediately switch up. Please stop getting into there and turning into the clickbait. We're never going to get out of the clickbait, say some BS era, Skip Bayless type era, unless, guys like that do it. If you're going to do that, they could just bring up a trained journalist that's, might be a little better at it, but not as well as a personality. And we can, if we're going to do that, like, I really wish they would stop. And I think some of it is a bit with Russell because it's like we still should be talking about the damn running play. Like, it's okay if fans say it, but it's like, let it go, Richard. Man, let it go, bro. Like, we get it, bro. We absolutely get it. But what I always say in that situation is stop blaming the one play when y'all let Brady carve y'all up. Their defense just got carved up in that second half. The pass rush wasn't there, and it's just like, man, y'all talked about Edelman. They caught a bunch of passes on y'all defense. So we never speak on that. We just speak about that last play. So it's just like I kind of wish they would leave that alone. But I think Peyton, he's got a defense, and they might have to fix some things with that offensive line. I'm not sure, but if they can get a running game, that'll help Russell Wilson, and they might go back to that Seattle Russell, where it's just like we don't let Russ cook, but we run in the ball, we run in play action, we run in bootlegs, and he's designing an offense. I think he's the perfect fit. I think the Ryans would have had too much pressure there the first time. Go to a place where the pressure isn't there. You'll with as competitive as they played last year. I think the Texans with a solid quarterback and some more weapons, they win more games. If he coordinates that defense, they'll be really competitive in the AFC South. And I'll say in 2 years, that's when you'll see his true impact. Quarterback has had a full year, another good draft class, and then you go from there. But I'm excited to see what he does.
So, so how do you think? What did you think about the upcoming games now that we got the well, not even upcoming games, the Super Bowl? Only thing I know about the Super Bowl, I get tired of because it's a 2 week wait, and
Yeah,
every show that I watch, it's like I don't know how many times they're gonna end up talking about the game, break down the game. These two teams is gonna be an overkill because only
yeah,
it's the last two teams left. Um, but now it really depends on how Mahomes is and his leg. I'm pretty sure that dude probably spent 16 hours plus in that training room getting that thing looked at. But I'm assuming he's gonna be as healthy as can be, especially with that extra week. So I think the Eagles they're gonna have what's up, Khalif?
My guys.
I think the Eagles gonna have their hands full. Now, one thing somebody brought up towards the during that Eagles game, even though it was a blowout, and I don't remember, they were saying like they noticed Hurts. Maybe it was they were just running the ball to wear the clock, um, or so it's probably just a scheme. But they noticed Hurts wasn't really throwing the ball as much, so they was worrying about his shoulder. So I don't know. Maybe he aggravated his shoulder during the last week's game. So maybe Hurts come into the game to the Super Bowl with some nagging injury. But who knows? I hate to say the Eagles, so they division rivals.
Well, Hurt's been dealing with the he's been dealing with the injury though.
Yeah, yeah. For whatever reason, I think I heard somebody was saying like during the game against the 49ers, it looked like he kind of re-aggravated it, because he wasn't throwing the ball as much.
Well, no, he's still 100% coming in.
Yeah, and I guess during the game, I don't know if he got hit. Like I said, it was just like hearsay I heard from somebody. They just noticed something, and it may be because the game was out of reach, especially the second half when the
Right.
49ers was just running the ball. Maybe it was something the Eagles just did too, just to run at the clock. They kept running the ball too. Um, so who knows?
It
But
wasn't much of a game once Purdy went out though.
yeah, it was that game. Eagles won by default. I mean,
Well,
pretty
somebody
much
they were gonna beat him.
because once Purdy couldn't do anything, but they already lost Johnson with the concussion. So only thing Purdy can do was just hand the
Hand
ball
the ball
off,
off. Right.
and so Eagles just say, okay, we know you're not gonna pass. So basically, everybody go in the box, stop they run. And they even try to put McCaffrey in there back there for one pass. They were screwed. And to think about it, they lost all four of the quarterbacks they put behind center this year. I'm like, damn, man. One dude was waiting all this time to play. He finally gets a chance to play. He gets hurt, so he's going at the beginning of the season. The dude they was trying to get rid of, they didn't get rid of, and luckily he was still there on the roster, so they put him in. He played. He got hurt, so he out of there. Bring in a dude, the last pick of the last year's draft. He's experienced good success. He won 11 games in a row, and all of a sudden he gets his elbow hurt. Now he's out. Then this
Journeyman.
extreme journeyman with Josh Johnson.
He
Put
played for
him
the
in
Bucks.
there, get his head shaken up. Now
What did he
he's out.
drafted
Now you
in
got to put the
07?
dude with the hurt arm back in there. I'm
Yeah,
like,
he played for the
man,
Bucks for a little while.
you saw how George Kittle was just his
He's
post game
sick.
interview. Yeah, he was hurt, right? He said, "We don't have a quarterback, man. I expect us to win. We don't have a quarterback." They literally didn't have a quarterback. They just had a dude. He's on the roster, but he wasn't a quarterback because all he can do is just here you go, here you go, here you go. He couldn't do nothing else. I'm like, man. Some people, the Eagles, they they playoff run so far it kind of reminds me of the Raptors in the NBA. Was that the Raptors or was that Phoenix?
Everybody
When
that played was hurt.
yeah, I think it was Phoenix. When
Yeah, Devin
everybody,
Booker
all
got
the
hurt.
opposing
Chris
their
Paul got hurt
opposing
too.
team, they had no point guard. They was all hurt. They were just going. Their best scorer was gone. So Phoenix just, even though they didn't end up going, they didn't win the title, but they was able to move up, deep playoff run because everybody else going against, they just had a hurt player, their best scorer. I was like, well, damn, man. But what's up, Khalid? What you got on there? Guys, I know we saw you was replying. We was talking about your Bucks.
Well, no, man, I'm just saying, man. It's just the Bucks, man. I don't like the way it was handled. Like Dante was saying, man. Brady had a down season, man, and I've been on the pages, the community pages, watching the other fans. Everybody's on Bowles like Bowles is the problem. But you got to understand, it's the same team. They turn almost the same team, same coordinator. I mean, Tom Brady's play slipped, and people are not wanting to say it, and so it bothers me, especially with Todd Bowles. He never really got a chance when he was coaching previously. They got put on a bad team. He gets a good team, and now they're saying that he can't coach based off your quarterback. It's past his prime, man.
Yeah. So what you think about? because I was explaining, but when I heard Dan Orlovsky, he was mentioned something about Byron Leftwich when they originally let him go,
Hmm.
and when during especially during the Brady era for the Bucks, they operated just like how the Cowboys did during the Garrett era, where they didn't have too much creativity in their offense. They basically just put like our players are better than yours, so we're gonna let our players win their respective one-on-one battles. Cowboys was doing that when they had many dudes all pro offensive line and all Pro Bowl receivers and tight ends. They just couldn't make a deep playoff run. The Buccaneers was doing that because they had Pro Bowlers on their O line, Pro Bowlers on
Right.
the receivers, Pro Bowlers in the running back. So they create, they didn't need no creativity in the offense. They
But
just go,
honestly, think
our
about
man
this though.
gonna beat your man, and then you just got to stop that man. And then when they got hurt this past season, everybody got hurt. Now you like okay, because you saw minimum motion,
Right.
minimum any type of creativity from that Buccaneers offense. And
Well,
then
honestly, if
they
you
didn't,
look
they didn't
at
run
it,
the ball. They had Brady, 45 years old, and looking up this dude throwing over 60 pass attempts. I'm like, man, what
right.
the?
Was there really any? If you think about that, based on the scheme, was New England that creative? You know what I'm saying? Because New England really didn't have. They never had star players. I think the depth on our team is what hurt us because New England had depth, so they could have a guy come in that was nobody, but they knew that system so well. They didn't do anything crazy in New England. The same thing he's doing in New England, he was doing in Tampa Bay. Smoke screens, a lot of stuff out in the backfield, stuff to the running back. Nothing changed. I'm saying we just don't have the depth, and we don't have really the caliber of players. Like Mike Evans is a good player, but he's not a number one. He's not a true number one.
You don't think Evans is
You don't
number
feel like
one?
Evans a number one?
No, he should be
That
in the
dude,
inside,
he
bro.
probably a future Hall of Famer.
No, he is a Hall of Famer, but I'm saying in terms of what you think of as a number one receiver, he's not the fastest guy in the world. You got to think like, he's more to me. I look at more in the vein like an Anquan Bola, just faster. Just a big body guy who's gonna make the tough catches, but he's not a number one, bro. He's not gonna go to another team and be a number one guy.
I don't know about that. I guess because you see him so much, so you see him a certain way, whereas I see him another way because he used to make plays against my team, or I've seen him where it's just like one of those stats where he has it. Because I got into a debate with a guy, so I asked you think do you think what's the guy I gave a contract deal with the ACL? Godwin, you think he's better?
Godwin is a better no.
Okay, because I was telling to somebody they was fighting with me. I was like, they was having a Diggs conversation. It's like he doesn't even guard number one. So I was like, hey, bro, he did a good job against Mike Evans. And the guy was telling me Mike Evans wasn't the number one receiver for the Buccaneers. It was Godwin. And I was like, nah, he had a lot of targets because Brady throws those short passes. And like
Right.
you said, Evans is more of a down the field threat. And he just kept going it back with me. And I was like, but nah, I never heard that he's like not a number one, but I think he's good enough. But I think the creativity was stifled by injuries. Like you said, depth. I could only do so much with his backup center and these two backup guards. And
Right.
and Julio Jones passed his prime.
Yeah,
With Godwin coming off of ACL, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
then Gronk left, so you got another washed up tight end and a young guy.
Yeah.
So
So and then what's the name? His best years were LSU. Nobody really admits it. He had that one
Yeah,
good year,
Fournette. Yeah, yeah.
but Fournette, and it's like he can give it to you at times, but I think letting what's the name go was a mistake because he gave you that pop.
Which one,
Um,
Devon?
Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones?
I like him. I liked him since USC, and I felt like he's a guy that running backs you get a bad break, you get to be the lead guy, and then your numbers increase. But it wasn't on Leftwich. They should have gave Leftwich another shot. I really,
Absolutely.
but it's one of those deals where as black coaches, it's so tough. So you wonder why? Hey man, why did a black coach take a job where the last two black coaches got 1 year? Because there's only 32 of these, and you already as tough as hell. So he probably had good leverage against the Texans, real good leverage.
Yeah.
And
I
because these
think
wasn't coming
Bryce
out,
may have some choices though. I think Denver was looking at him as well.
and I
That's
wonder if
why they
that
well,
coach was too.
What's that?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts were because they haven't made a hire yet, have they?
No, but the
Oh, they,
coach Ursay is looking at Saturday. That's what he's looking at. But I guess the board or whatever, they don't want him to hire Saturday.
Like the Texans last year, they wanted to hire old buddy.
I mean, Harry Cuddy, right?
Texans, he
Nah,
just
they wanted to hire
no. They wanted
Cole
the
Cordell
Texans wanted um what's his name? Josh
McCown.
McC-
I think it's McCown's.
was it
Oh,
McCown?
yeah, coming from high school.
Yeah, McCown, yeah. They wanted him. And the thing about it, if you was keeping up with that last season, is when they had that. No, it was 2 seasons ago. That was the thing that originally started the whole Watson thing. And they hired that big old search firm to look for both a GM and a head coach. And they said the owner promised Watson, "Hey, we're gonna, want to hear some of your input on this too."
Right.
And as they was going through that search firm, I remember one of the dudes they talked to was Tony Dungy. He was kind of like advising them. And I remember he said, like, hey, if you find somebody, you know, get them. You don't have, don't waste no time. Get them. I guess the Texans, for whatever reason, they took that to the extreme, and then all of a sudden got this one GM from. Of course, they remember they kept during the years. The Texans was always pulling people from the Patriots organization, and they end up getting Casario. Casario. They tried to actually get him a couple of years earlier, but Belichick got on them for tampering, so they couldn't do it. So once he was, I guess, available when they got him named him GM a couple of years ago, they didn't bring that up to Watson, and then it took a notch up when the head coach. They did the same thing with the head coach. They didn't bring that up with Watson, so that was the whole thing with Watson. So and they just people just didn't trust that organization. And then so you get what I don't. I like the fact that they got D'Amico as a head coach. Well, I don't like wasting seasons. And you gonna get two coaches that you already knew those was just dead end coach, and you just wasted their season. That could have been a coach. It probably would have been D'Amico yet because his name wasn't out there like that as of yet. But whatever coach, a good head coach, let him establish his program and whatnot. And then, they'll move on for that instead of getting these two head coaches that you knew that was just dead end. And yeah, that's when they had the whole getting this McCown dude because he made to the final to the finalists with Flores, but you never heard of him. You never heard him. He has no coaching experience, and you never heard his name during the whole process. But he's a finalist, and then the Flores news came out, so they put McCown to the side because they didn't want to hire him because it would have fit the narrative of what
He
Flores
already.
was talking about. So they
I
let
think I
him
think the
and
league told them, hey,
yeah, yeah. So that's why players like and even Ryan's when the whole thing first started, he said, "I don't want to coach there." But they obviously some talking was going back and forth since he said that, and obviously he was able to get past it, and he
I, I think I know what it is. The leverage he had, along with the Dolphins don't have that first round pick, right? So because of the investigation from last year,
oh
so
yeah oh yeah from
there's
that
only
owner
31 first round picks. So they have three of the top 32 picks. That's it. Three high level players like that. That's an immediate boost to your team that you already had high picks last year. Now I know one of their high picks, Kenyon Green, had a rough year. And he's playing that guard, but he's a guy that I know the Cowboys liked. So I don't know if it was the development or it was the injuries or what. But you have a franchise tackle in Tunsil. You can add some pieces, So, and then I want to say the receiver from was it Bama? That had Hodgkins lymphoma.
Michi.
John Michie.
He
He's
said
coming back.
he hasn't played yet because his
Yeah.
thing.
So it's like I say guys like that. You say conservatively, maybe you'll see him the second half of next year. because it is 17 weeks. So you see the second weeks, kind of get your body weight, gain the weight. Hopefully he could come at some point in camp, but that's someone that you put on the back burner. But you still draft some other weapons, or you spend some free agency money. But I think Ryan's leads them to legitimacy. You saw what he led to their defense. If he can pluck a few guys, like maybe what is the guy who plays? Who used to play at Texas? I think he was with the Texans for a little bit. Was it Charles or Minihue? Get a few guys like that, teach your scheme. Them veteran guys where it's like that's a nothing sign. It's like, nah, that's a something. That's a locker room guy. Come and teach things, show the way, and get that losing. They got to get that stench of losing off of them. Like, they fought hard at the end, but it's like you got to get those wins early on. You got to catch it early before that losing stench gets on you, and it's just like guys are planning them trips.
Man,
You
I
don't
think
want that.
that losing stench, I don't know. That may be on them for a couple of more seasons, man. I joked around last season, man. They literally became an expansion team again.
They were,
To me, it was a repeat of 2002. And now, but
man.
we don't have a quarterback.
There was
We don't
nothing.
have a quarterback.
There was nothing funnier than when I was living in the Houston area and you see boys with that O2 jersey. I was like, oh, you been down. But also, y'all ain't no dynamic players for this. This man shouldn't have that jersey on. This man should have on an Andre Johnson, a Arian Foster, something. They was out here with
That
O2.
franchise had like a 2-year sweet spot when they could have did a deep playoff run, but injuries shortened that. And I remember they had they didn't have, even though, with the Washington thing, they had that infamous I see Andre popped up on this.
Oh
What's
yeah,
up, Andre?
what's up, bro?
I know
Hey, proud it, bro.
he bought out the Eagles with that stimulus package win they got. But yeah, the Texans, they just right now, man. I don't even look at that team for just winning. They got 2 first-round picks this year. They're gonna have 2 first-round picks next year. Go build your team, man. Maybe in year 2027 we could talk about them boys winning games. So right now, man, they're expansion team.
Yeah,
And I don't know how long it's gonna take for them on this quarterback journey now to find a new quarterback when they thought they had their franchise QB.
I think
That's the thing that I be trying to tell Cowboys fans.
you got to be
Just
careful.
because you see these QBs having success in college, that don't mean it's going to translate to the NFL. All the ones talking about they want to get rid of Dak. Okay, I always say I have no problem. You say you want to get rid of a player, but you damn so better bring somebody in who can do at the least that what he can do. No, I don't want to see him underperforming. And you talking about the quarterback position? Oh hell, you might as well, if you're gonna bring in Dak, bring in somebody who can perform like him. Because you have no idea how long that that stretch when you're trying to find your next franchise quarterback. It will take your franchise. That's when the franchise, you be seeing yourself losing because they be trying to bring all these bridge QBs and then nothing happens. And be like, okay, that's the hell with it, man. We gonna tank, and then they just go to the bottom. And now you got to rebuild from the scratch. That can be like a decade long wait. So you gotta be careful what you ask for. You talking about getting rid of your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it's one of those. You got to also be aware of the salary cap and be realistic. And sometimes some of the Cowboy fans are very unrealistic. I can agree with anyone that's ever said that. And so any fan base for that matter, but there's more Cowboy fans, so it looks like they're even crazier. He's deal, I want to say you could get out of it next year. But the cap hit that he's going to have next is going to be so crazy. That's why you hear the extension talk already. But the deal was set up that way because he can't be franchised. That's already in the deal. So you have to look at it as you're going to change the coordinator. They're going to get more weapons. I'm already hearing whispers of receivers. They're flirting with Odell, but I don't believe it. I'm over that anyway. If he comes, he comes. But offensive line is something that they're going to make some changes to. But you got to know they're only going to add minimal free agents, sign their own guys back, and the draft is when it's Christmas. Some teams get 2 Christmases. Draft and free agency, and maybe a trade during free agency period. Cowboys you only get one time. You got to wait on Christmas.
That was the Eagles' last off season.
And
getting good draft picks, making a hellified trade to get AJ Brown to come in, which I'm like, and I'm noticing because you brought up that whole salary cap thing, if Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl um, in a couple of weeks, I think he'll be the first quarterback that has these mega contracts that they're getting now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're starting to see a lot of these teams now, the ones that are experiencing the most success, they have these talented QBs, but they still on these rookie deals. If you look at their team a lot of time is stacked because they they not the quarterback is not soaking up a lot of the money yet. So they can get the pieces, but it'll be interesting like a Burrow, even a Hurts, or um whatever I can't make whatever other young quarterback out there, when they get their money, because they are going to get their money, how would that team look like then? Because now you're gonna get this player money, you're gonna lose some players. So now it's like that's what happened with Dak, and I guess because Dak's turn when okay, we're gonna have to take care of our quarterback, you're gonna get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you lead us there? So players like Burrow, Hurts, as young and talented as they are, it's gonna be interesting to see once you give them that money, now you got to take away some of them weapons. Stuff's gonna be looking different now because you give them money. So with Mahomes, so the first thing you saw that get taken away was Hill. So a lot of people was like, "Oh, how they gonna look like now that you have this game breaker, this playmaker that you lost?" And Kelsey ended up stepping up huge, and
Yeah.
so maybe that can happen, especially with Burrow because he got with Chase, so they'll
Yeah.
basically just grow up together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting thing. I'm sorry, because I'm starting to see the league, the teams that are having the most success are with these quarterbacks who are young and talented, but they're on these rookie deals. So they just giving them weapons all over the place. They can afford to do that. But soon life for that team changes as soon as you give that quarterback the money. And now it's like, okay, now they're gonna expect you. Right now you don't have to, but they are gonna expect you to fill in some gaps. That's when you're gonna start seeing, okay, how will this quarterback do? So
Yeah. You're gonna see it. But my biggest gripe with the Cowboys front office is other front offices give their players either what they need on the other side of the ball, like a Josh Allen, got Von Miller for him, or
Cowboys did that with Dak
and
when they
yeah,
brought in Amari.
and they brought in Amari, yeah, and that was right before the money came. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
now that the money's there, I appreciate getting T.Y. Hilton. That was a nice gesture, but that was just okay. Overall, they have to have a better offseason. One player I would like to see them get rid of because now I don't really want to pay him. Dalton Schultz, like him,
Yeah, I
but
don't
I feel
think
like
he. No, I don't think Schultz will be coming back
I
because
feel like
the
you
other
can find
the other
another
tight
guy.
end,
The younger tight ends, I feel like let them
Ferguson.
grow and mold them. Yeah, Ferguson and Hendershot,
Yeah.
let them develop. But I know we said we was going to get into some NBA coming up like in the next few weeks, and I don't. I mean, obviously, if you've watched the show, you know who my Super Bowl pick is. So it's like I don't want to beat y'all over the head like Shawnee was saying for 2 weeks. But I want to say in one of my part shots, I respect the Memphis Grizzlies for what they did. Like everyone know the Tyreek Nichols situation was terrible, and it's even worse that it was black officers, and so it's a problem that it's not just white or black. It's like the way policing is done must be changed. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: as a young team, I appreciate them. The comments are saying it's scary and it's frustrating because it is. Because you see, especially the guys that aren't, even the guys that are, all of them are at jeopardy, especially if you're not as highly talented. Like I heard the situation with Sterling Brown in Milwaukee, where he got hemmed up by the officer and they, just treated him like absolute shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like they came out, I was like, oh, he's an NBA player. And it was like, yeah, man, if you're not the top of the top guys, you just like everybody else. You just got a few more dollars in your pocket. And so I respect them for having a moment of silence. But I want to say this. I would like for the athletes, I'm not going because I saw on Twitter, everybody was ragging LeBron. It was like, maybe you should shut up and dribble. I'll never say that. What I will say is, if you're going to say something, Make sure it's well articulated. Make sure you read on the topic, not LeBron with the same first chapter of the Malcolm X biography. And you need to be well read when you speak on something, and it needs to come from a good place. Don't feel like you need to say something just to say it. You need to get with your publicist. You need to go talk to some community people. Say something meaningful. Don't just come out and step in front of something that might be causing momentum. There's people that can speak to these issues, just like there's people that can speak to the sports. They don't let the activists come on and be like, "Hey, go talk ball." Just like they don't need you just because you're a face. Don't let them just prop you out there and look stupid. Make
I
sure
think
that
he. I think.
you're looking correct.
I think that's what happened to him when he tried to talk about that whole China thing.
That
They
was
threw him out. They threw him out there. Them boys came with them rocks and just started pegging him. But
that
that's
was the worst thing. And what was worse about that is the person that said something, you throwing the rock, and you can hide your hand. LeBron got to get out here, and everybody know who he is.
Yeah, that's why even I noticed that during that whole thing with LeBron, it's a cost to come with being a face. That means a lot of people who don't follow that particular sport, they know you.
Yeah,
And then LeBron is outspoken because the thing about LeBron is an icon, and he's the first icon player whose entire career is during the social media era, and he participates in that social media.
yeah,
So not only he's the face, a lot of people follow him on social media, and he puts his ideas out, opinions out on social media. So you have these other outlets like since the Super Bowl. One thing I don't really care about Super Bowl, I know they do it, but that whole media week, because during media week it brings a whole lot of people who don't follow the game,
yeah.
all these mainstream media, whatnot, and they come in,
I,
but
I
it's a little bit more fun.
I'm the opposite. I love media week because you get to hear from people you may not have heard from. I love it that the
Yeah,
local
the
players
players,
get
yeah,
that.
the players
I love it.
cool.
I
Yeah,
love
the
it.
players cool, but it's the media outlet, the news outlets that they don't follow football. Like the gossip news. They just
Gossip.
come because it's the biggest. Because the Super Bowl is an unofficial holiday,
It
so
is.
everybody just want to be in there. So with LeBron, because as big as a face he is, those same people who don't really follow basketball, but because you outspoken, oh, and they know if they say something about you, it'll get seen. So yeah, that's the gift and the curse about being a face. The player you talking about, I think he getting hell right now from his home country. Um, what's his name? Cantor, Enos
Oh,
Cantor.
Enes Cancer. Here's my thing with Enes Cancer. Like, I get what you're saying, but he was trying to say that he was blackballed. And he changed his name to Freedom, and this is like, bro, you can't social your justice to your way into a job. And somebody said, I'm getting blackballed, and they were like, maybe because you can't guard nobody on the pick and roll?
Yeah,
Like,
he
you
was a, he was
literally
a
are
pretty
offensive.
he was a solid offensive player, but
He
defense,
was
nah, he was a
he was a
liability.
player that was for 10 years ago. If things stayed the way they were 10 years ago, he's fine. He is a 12 to 15 point guy, 8 rebounds, but just stand up in the middle and be big. But once they start pick and roll and switching, what's the guy that Kimball play? When he switched on him, he fell down. That's what I think of Enes Cantor when I can think of playing defense. He just can't. Like I remember I used to hear so much about him, how bad it was, and then I watched him and I was like, yeah, bro, it's bad. Like they can't have you on the court. They have to sub you out. So, but it's like he had the issues with his home country, and he did the change name, and that was gimmicky. And it's just like, bro, I respect some of the stuff you're doing and speaking things, but I'll defend LeBron on some of this where they say, okay, well, this injustice is happening here, and I know an injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere. LeBron is from a place where the injustices have never been healed against the people that look like him for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I think it's fair to say, I'm going to focus on these issues. And when this gets right, then I'll look to a Ukraine or something like that. But I have no problem with him with the situation that's there in China. Yeah, bro, I'm a global icon. Part of my job of doing business is selling things in China. I'm not really like focused on those issues. That's just me. and that's just me personally. What's going on, bro? Don't
What's
talk your
up,
butt. I see you.
Shawnee? I heard you talking trash, Shawnee. You know how to pull up. You talking trash, talking about some. We on that stimulus package.
Oh man, y'all played the team. The game was going to be even. I thought it was going to be an even match game. But then
Mm-hmm.
y'all ended up playing a team. I mean, the defense, the 49ers defense. I put something on the internet and I was looking at, cause I know I look at the whole box score.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, outside the two QB injuries, I knew the biggest thing was the time of possession. The
Come on
Eagles
now.
had the ball for like 15 plus minutes, and of
Yeah.
course the turnovers.
Yeah.
But that's because you playing a team that that cannot pass the ball. I mean,
You
what?
got a rookie leading your team
Hold
to the
on.
Super Bowl. Come on now.
Did you see what
But he was 11 and
we got
0.
up
They
there?
was running. He was
Until he met
11
a
and
real
0.
team. Until they met a real team. They met a real defense that was.
Well, when he got
You
hurt,
can't.
the score, I think y'all just
You
scored. So it
can't
was
stop
fourteen
Hassan
seven.
Reddick.
It
Name
was
me who can
fourteen
stop Hassan
seven.
Reddick right now.
It was 14-7 when he got hurt. Y'all just scored.
And he didn't even want to go back in that game. He was scared. He said, "Oh man,
The
these
dude needs
niggas is real."
surgery on his elbow.
He said,
He
"These
needs
niggas."
surgery on his elbow now.
He said, "These niggas is real. I don't want to get back
Oh
in that game."
hell, man!
No.
This dude. I mean, then the next dude they came. He gets in. He gets his brain shaken
Oh,
up, so he
he's
can't come back in
trash,
the game.
man. Hey,
So
listen,
yes, that. I mean, the
he
Eagles
embarrassed black
won.
quarterbacks everywhere. I was like, "What is he
Man,
doing, bro?"
nah, Eagles won, but that was a stimulus package win, man. Because hell, if I
They
know
was taking cheap shots on my quarterback. They trying to knock him out the game.
who was
He
taking
going to the
cheap
ground.
shots.
They hitting him in the back. Come on, man.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on,
man.
bro.
Now
Let's
you
stop.
just talking
No,
about
Come on,
I don't
man.
know about that, but I know what's the name had some dirty plays. Trent Williams did. He
oh,
had
he was getting
yeah,
frustrated. He was just
yeah,
getting
he was getting
He was
but
getting
frustrated.
their ass bust.
He was getting
that's what
What
frustrated,
happened.
you
man.
expect was gonna happen when you come to Philly and we already had a dominant season? Come on now. You thought it was gonna be a cakewalk? What you thought this?
Nobody thought y'all talking like it was going to be a cakewalk when the game was close when the starting quarterback went out the
Listen, it
game.
was a tough game. I ain't gonna cat. It was definitely a tough game. But when we pulled up, man, and we listen, when it came down time to show up, guess who showed up?
I don't know, man.
Hey,
I
I
don't think
say
it's I don't think it's so
props.
hard to show up when the team loses both of their quarterbacks. So
I say
I
But
props.
mean, I
why?
don't.
But
They
why
won.
you gonna lose both their quarterbacks? Because our defense was so stellar, right? It's not because something they did, something we did, right? We knocked
I
them.
mean, y'all got to the quarterback on the one that hit us on, but just because y'all got to the quarterback, that don't mean that he gonna get hurt from it. He can make it up the next play. Problem is, he couldn't make it up the next
He's
play.
a rookie, man. That's his first time ever being in that pressure cooker like that.
Well,
Rookies don't make it to the Super Bowl, dog. It's
It's
unheard
true.
of.
So what you think about going up against Mahomes 2 weeks?
Oh, it's gonna be a tough game, cuz. I think it's gonna be down to the wire.
That's I think it's gonna be a good one.
Mahomes is a beast. I've been telling people all week. I said, listen, they're gonna find a way to get to that Super Bowl. Ain't no way in the world they're gonna let what's the boy name from Cleveland? Not
Watson.
Cleveland. From
Oh, you talking
Cincinnati.
about Burrow?
I'm talking
Burrow.
about
Everybody was hyping his Burrow train. I was like, he nice, but he ain't no Patrick Mahomes.
nah, he
Matter of fact, I was looking at these comments and I see Alexis. I guess when I brought up Tyreek Hill early in the show, and she put Hill as a liar, and I'm assuming she's talking about the time where Hill was saying that Tua, I guess, threw better balls than Mahomes.
yeah, he was doing a bunch of talk to hype up Tua, and it's like
Yeah.
you can hype up your man, but you don't gotta lie.
And
Say
I
this.
remember I threw out a question, a debate question. I don't know if it was here or on Facebook about, and this was at the time, obviously, as the season went on, it ended up being Mahomes because he's going to the
Now we
Super
talked
Bowl.
about it. We talked about it. We was like, who had
About
the
who was having the more impressive season.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes was doing what he was doing, but people was clowning Hill for getting traded. He wanted that money
yeah? Because I
for
remember
going to Miami with pretty much a dead end quarterback, and all
yeah
of a sudden now you saw the whole thing about Tua this year was his concussions,
discussions.
but
Mm-hmm.
they was a completely different offense when he was on the field.
Yeah,
So
because
I'm
you
like, and then Hill, now
Just
he
like the
getting all these
Eagles. Just
receptions and
like the Eagles.
whatnot. So I'm like, okay, who had a more impressive season? Hill's season was impressive. He literally brought a quarterback because Waddle was there last year, and even Tua wasn't. He was just dinking and dunking the
Lincoln
Waddle.
Duncanton. That's
But
it.
all of a sudden, Hill again. Next thing you know, Tua also want to throw the ball 30 yards down the field and stuff. I'm like, so he didn't change that whole offense up. So I think both of them was up, but I gave my advantage to Hill at the time
Mm-hmm.
because the quarterback he was going to.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody questioned the greatness of Mahomes. We just waiting to see, okay, how are you gonna do it now? But so we saw it with Kelsey. Kelsey just stepped up and he just posted just career numbers.
Because greatness finds
So
a way. Greatness finds a way.
exactly. So you didn't question the greatness of Mahomes, but you looking at Hill like you gonna leave Mahomes going to this dude because you wanted your money? And but it's football though. You can't say that when players are looking for their money because you seeing that's what happened with Debo.
Yeah.
He ended up getting his money, but he wanted his money because 49ers want to use him as a receiver or running back and
Mm-hmm.
all this. So pay me if you're gonna put me. It was ultimately he ended up still getting
That's
hurt.
what happened with Seattle too, with the lead.
Yeah, dudes want to get paid if you want
They
to
want
keep
to get
changing
paid,
them.
cuz.
So, but I brought up a point, Andre, but you up on here. I don't know how much time we have left, but I noticed, and I brought up to Dante about I'm seeing teams today that with young star quarterbacks. So you got Hurts,
Mm-hmm.
Burrow, even though they just lost. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if Allen got paid yet or not. I
He
forgot.
got paid.
He got paid, okay. But I'm starting to see, and maybe the Chargers over there with Herbert, that if a lot of these teams are taking advantage of their QBs being on rookie deals. So they
Of
stacking
course.
them. They stacking them. They stacking them. And my thing is, especially with Hurts and Burrow, yes, they are young and talented as we see them today. But when they organization is like, okay, here's your money,
Mm-hmm.
you got to give up something. That's what happened with the Cowboys. Dak was always his game was always progressing. He was never an elite quarterback, but his game was progressing. Once they gave him that money, then also you saw Cooper, he gets taken away. Now they say, okay, we give you this money, we expect you to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Dak so far couldn't do that. I'm interested in I think Burrow
But
because
why, Sean? The question
Bur
is why?
with Dak, or you talking about?
Why can't Dak fulfill what he's supposed to fulfill? Because he's
Struggles
not an
against good
elite
defense.
quarterback, cuz. He's
No, he's
not an
not.
elite quarterback.
There's a lot of elite quarterbacks that are able to win, and you
Yeah,
got
it's
to
only like three
have a
elite
team around them.
quarterbacks. It's only
We
like
just
Don't he
saw
three
lead
Nolly.
the
elite ones.
don't remind me again, don't Dak lead the league in interceptions?
He did.
Yeah, but this was his first. That was his first season doing that. He never had an interception thing. But I never put Dak as an elite. But you couldn't say because Dak was the Cowboys franchise quarterback, so they had to give him that money. You
Now
can't
you still
lose
had
Dak and expect it. They had no choice. You let that go. Now you're gonna be sitting here looking for a quarterback for the next 20 years. It's just
Bring Colin
it's hard to
Kaepernick
find.
back. Bring Colin Kaepernick back.
Oh,
Colin
he should go.
Kaepernick wasn't doing anything before he left the NFL.
Watch
So
out. That ship
Listen,
shut.
he took his team to the Super Bowl, didn't he?
yes, and
He
then
did.
the
Okay.
next
Has
season though
Dak
he went from the Super Bowl to on the bench.
has
He
it
had
brought
a
Dak?
complete night and day
I,
performance.
I hear you. I hear you on the cap thing, but that ship shut. He should have.
Yeah,
He should have had another job for the
he
first
could
couple
have,
of
but
he was out.
that's a
He
whole
definitely
different
should
thing.
have.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother can of worms. So I know we got to. I let you talk your noise. Your boys, hey, y'all earned it. So I got to sit there and take it. But next week
Yeah.
we're gonna fully get into the Super Bowl a little bit more.
I
And I
got
want to
two
say,
big slices of humble pie for
hey,
both
we
of y'all
got it. We
after the
got it.
Super Bowl, all right?
But hey, if the Super Bowl don't go your way, just know.
Dude, you do
Just
realize
know.
you've been saying this every round. Y'all better win
Hey,
again. Y'all better win
I'm not.
again.
I'm never not going
I'm
against
gonna run
y'all.
the tape back. All I'm gonna
We
have is
got
Don say,
beef.
you better win. You better win.
Better win. But hey,
Hey, where'd you get that microphone from? Did that give it to you? Because it is trash.
I got an echo like hell today.
Got that echo like crazy, cuz
they must hear it more on the
you're on
YouTube or
the
something because I don't
stream.
hear
You
it
can
too
hear it
much on
like
my end.
crazy.
It's
I can
pretty
hear
fine to me.
I can hear echo from everybody except you, Shani. I don't know what it
Yeah, I
is.
know Shawnee joint is good. I don't know what's going on.
Normally I'd be having these in my ear, but not this time. I'm
What
just
are
using a
those?
straight
Five
PC.
below? What is that?
We talking about these
Yeah.
headphones?
Oh, they beats. Oh,
Yeah, the
okay.
Beats. Normally I have these, but I couldn't get them paired with my laptop, so I'm just using the straight laptop system right now, and it's
Using
working
my
fine.
iPad.
Man, stuff be causing too much. But it looked like we about to. So I know they got another show that come right on after hours. So
Yeah,
I was trying to ask him.
Hey,
Shoot
man,
you.
Drell's doing his thing. But hey, we're gonna talk about the trade deadline next week
Okay.
because shoot, the trade deadline is next Thursday. So it's gonna be some deals that's probably be happening while show is going on. So we're gonna touch into that NBA. You rock with the Sixers?
Oh, hands down. Anything Philly,
Okay,
man.
everything Philly. I respect
If
you.
Philadelphia Wings, Flyers,
I
Sixers,
respect
everything,
you.
dog.
That's what's up. Well, so appreciate you checking us out, bro. As usual, I'm
Yeah, love
checking
you
out,
brothers,
man.
man. Y'all keep doing your thing. I'm gonna pull up next week.
Already,
I
bro.
appreciate it,
Appreciate
man.
it.
I see y'all next week though.
Next week. Peace.
All right, peace.